What if the Toronto Maple Leafs have known, since the end of the season, that Mitch Marner would never wear blue and white again? 9 years, nearly 700 games, over 700 points. A hometown kid who became a fan favorite. A symbol of hope for a franchise enduring one of the longest championship droughts in NHL history. Mitch Marner was all of that for the Leafs. And now, according to Andy Strickland, one of the most respected hockey reporters in North America, that story is coming to an end. I can confirm that Mitch Marner will not return to Toronto. He will play for a new team next season, Strickland stated. The quote hit Leafs Nation like a bomb. But for many inside the organization, this decision had already been made. Since 2015, the year Marner was drafted, he's been a central piece in Toronto's rebuild. He wasn't just another talented player. He was a hometown kid, the homegrown star, the one who was supposed to understand the pressure, the passion, and the way to play in Toronto. And for a long time, he seemed to live up to that. His chemistry with Austin Matthews was lethal. His creative touch was a trademark, and his presence on the ice often looked like the engine that kept the team running. But something got lost along the way. Despite his 102 points in the regular season and consistent production in the playoffs, 13 points in 13 games this past campaign, Marner was never unanimously embraced. The fans, the media, even analysts began to question his ability to rise in big moments. And that doubt never went away. For a player who ranks 5th in franchise history in points, that says a lot. And now, with his contract nearing its end and Marner set to become an unrestricted free agent on July 1st, Toronto seems ready to turn the page. Management has no intention of making a new offer before the deadline. The decision, it seems, has already been made, and the market is already in motion. According to David Pagnotta of the Fourth Period, there are at least 6 franchises seriously interested in Marner. The Carolina Hurricanes, Columbus Blue Jackets, Los Angeles Kings, the new Utah team, Vegas Golden Knights, and Anaheim Ducks. These are teams that see not only Marner's talent, but the potential for him to be the final piece of a roster ready to take the next big leap. Elliot Friedman of Sportsnet went even further. He said he expects to see Marner in the Western Conference next season, should he actually leave the Leafs. But why is Toronto willing to move on from one of the league's most productive players? The answer lies behind the scenes. The issue isn't just about numbers. It's about identity. For years, the Leafs have repeated the same cycle. Impressive in the regular season, disappointing in the playoffs. The structure, built around the so-called core four, looked promising on paper. Austin Matthews, William Nylander, John Tavares, and Mitch Marner, but it never delivered when it mattered most. And now, that core is starting to break apart. Nylander has already been re-signed. So has Matthews. Tavares is in the final year of his contract, and Marner is leaving. The most fragile link, but also the most valuable in the market, will be the first to go. And according to Strickland, that could even help in keeping Tavares. Marner's departure would free up cap space and open the door for the captain to re-sign, perhaps for less, aiding in a roster restructuring. But this isn't just the end of an era. It's also the beginning of a window. Because if Marner leaves, the Leafs will have options. And the media has already begun floating a few names. Sam Bennett, for example, could leave the Florida Panthers this summer. Born in Holland Landing, Ontario, he grew up near the city and could be interested in coming home. He's a physical, playoff-style player with a strong presence on the ice. Exactly the type of identity Toronto has been searching for years. Another name gaining traction behind the scenes is Brad Marchand. Yes, the same Marchand who's been hated by Leafs fans so many times. But according to Pierre LeBrun, the Halifax native, who grew up rooting for the Leafs, is among the possibilities being considered by Toronto. Nothing is official, but the fact that it's even being considered shows how far management is willing to go to shake the emotional foundations of the locker room and the fan base in order to finally change the results. And here, it's worth taking a breath. If you've made it this far, it's because you feel the weight of this transition. So take a moment to like the video, comment on what you think about Marner's potential departure, and of course, subscribe to the channel. We cover every rumor, every decision, every twist like it's Game 7 to finals. Because to be a Leafs fan, you need a strong heart. But back to the ice, what does losing Marner really mean? For many, it's an irreplaceable loss. We're talking about a player with 741 points, a regular top 10 assist man in the league, and a vision of the game that few possess. But for others, it might be exactly what Toronto needs to restart. Not just swap players, but transform the soul of the team. The question is, are the Leafs ready for that? Because if Mitch Marner leaves, the locker room will never be the same. The emotional foundation of the franchise will shift. And with it, so will the narrative. Empty promises won't cut it anymore. It's time for results. And what about you? What do you think? Would you let Marner walk for nothing? Would you bet on an emotional reset, bringing in names like Bennett or Marchand? Or would you keep the heart and talent of the team, despite all the criticism? Comment down below, because fans' opinions matter. And maybe Mitch Marner's departure isn't just the end of an era. Maybe, in fact, it's a trigger that sets off the next big move by the Leafs. A shift in identity. A page turned, written with sweat, sacrifice, and perhaps, finally, with championship blood. Because while the city is still processing the news that Marner is on his way out, the NHL rumor mill is heating up. And amid the chaos, one name is starting to rise. A name that carries something Marner, for all his brilliance, was never able to deliver in Toronto. Brayden Schenn. Captain of the Blues. Stanley Cup champion. A warrior with scars and stories. And yes, he might be the next face of the Leafs. The rumors are intensifying. The plan is bold. And as always, when it comes to Toronto, there's no middle ground. You either bet on the now, or you accept eternal almosts. And this time, the Leafs seem ready to take the risk. According to sources close to front office, the proposal involves a first-round draft pick, promising defenseman Fraser Minten, known for his physical game and above-average tactical awareness, and possibly Pontus Holmberg, a young, smart, and versatile forward. In return, Brayden Schenn, a battle-tested veteran, a player who, under Craig Berube's leadership, knows exactly what it takes to survive a playoff war. And it's not just about stats. While Schenn posted 18 goals and 32 assists last season, his value goes far beyond numbers. He's presence. He's leadership. He's grit. He's the kind of player who doesn't hesitate to block a shot with his body or raise his voice in the locker room when the team is falling apart. And that's exactly what the Leafs have lacked. Someone who yells, who takes hits, who bleeds and gets back on the ice. A type of player increasingly rare in today's NHL, but still absolutely essential when the calendar flips to April and the ice starts to burn. Craig Berube knows that, and he knows Schenn. It's no coincidence that, just as Berube takes over the Leafs, Schenn's name begins to gain momentum. Together, they won the Stanley Cup in 2019. Together, they endured adversity, suffocating overtimes and silenced arenas. Together, they built a bond of trust and sacrifice. Berube once called Schenn a superhuman being. And when a coach says that about a player, the rest of the locker room listens. That connection could be decisive, because while the trade is possible, it's not simple. Schenn is in the 6th year and 8-year $52 million contract. For the deal to work, the Blues would need to retain part of his salary. And that requires skill, patience, and timing. 3 things that don't always align with Toronto's urgency. But this time, the Leafs have something they haven't always had. Cap space. With over $25 million available this summer, management has room to maneuver. And with Marner's likely departure, combined with the possibility that John Tavares won't re-sign next summer, the team finds itself in a rare position, ready to reshape and redefine its philosophy. Schenn would fit in as a second or third line center, depending on Tavares. And his arrival wouldn't just help fill the void left by Marner's presence. It could help rebuild the very soul of this team. Because let's face it, the Leafs in recent years have lost more than games. They've lost their identity. They've suffered defeats that hurt not just on the scoreboard, but in how they happened. The apathy, the emptiness. And Schenn's arrival could be the first brick in a new foundation. Tougher, more pragmatic, and more prepared for what really matters, May and June. Marner's departure isn't just about the lineup. It's emotional. It's the end of a story that began in 2015 when he was drafted by his hometown team. He played all 657 career games in blue and white. He's the 5th all-time scorer in franchise history. But he didn't win. And in the end, that's what matters. Marner will always be remembered. But maybe to win, some memories need to be left behind. And that's why Schenn represents more than a trade. He represents an idea. The idea that talent alone doesn't win. The idea that a real team is built with pain, with blocked shots, with sacrifices that don't make the highlight reels. Which brings us to another question. Could this move just be the beginning? Because more names are starting to surface. Sam Bennett, for example, is another name being discussed. But he's expensive, and there's still no guarantee he'll leave Florida. Brad Marchand, the eternal Halifax-born rival who grew up rooting for the Leafs, may also be in the conversation. According to Pierre LeBrun, would it be madness? Or would it be the next piece of this new Toronto, where the past is burned to make way for a future that's less pretty, but maybe, finally, a winner? You, the fan, are you ready for that? Comment below. Would you trade Fraser Minton, a first-round pick, and Homburg for Brayden Schenn? Do you believe he can change the team's profile? Or would you rather invest in younger players with a higher ceiling? And beyond that, how do you feel watching Marner leave after nearly a decade with the Leafs? If you like this video, drop a like and subscribe to the channel. Because this offseason promises to be one of the most impactful in Toronto's recent history. And we'll be covering every move with the insight of those who know the behind the scenes and respect the legacy. Marner, the hometown kid, is leaving. Schenn, the battle-hardened soldier, may be on his way. And between them lies the soul of a team tired of losing beautifully and ready to start winning ugly. Toronto is changing. And you? Are you coming with it?